Please use the chat. I put some prompts through it, like in the very first slide here. Could you guys just chat and let me know what grade you're in? And so there's 2 questions on this chat. You can answer them separately or together. And whether right now you're having live virtual classes where people are actually like doing a Zoom or using some other technology and your teacher is actually teaching and interacting with you, or whether you're just mostly getting online assignments and you check in and have some office hours. So is it Laura who's going to see the answers to those chats? They're not floating up on my screen.
If you, Lisa, if you select the chat box, I'm wondering, I can see them coming in. If you hit, you can't. Okay, I'm happy to read them out loud. So you know what's coming in.
Great.
So we have somebody who said that they're in 9th grade and doing online assignments.
Okay.
Another participant in 10th grade. Another person in 10th grade who's also doing online assignments. And then somebody clarified and said doing about an equal amount of both.
Okay.
A junior who's doing virtual classes and assignments.
Okay.
And somebody else just added doing online assignments and a couple online Zoom meetings. Thank you guys so much for using the chat. This makes it more interactive and fun for us. We appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm going to need your support for that, Laura, because I have no idea where to find it.
No.
Oh, well. So it's really, I'm glad that I know what you're doing, because how you accommodate to online school, how you deal with it, is really going to be different according to what your teachers are trying to do with you. What I'm hearing in our Pennsylvania community is that the private schools, by and large, are actually doing Zoom classes and interacting with the kids for many hours a day, so much more like the demands of a school day. And most of the public schools are checking in with a little Zoom office hours, but are mostly giving assignments, which gives you a lot more flexibility. So hopefully there'll be some ideas here. So we're in virtual school now, right? And you're all in different states. In Pennsylvania, kids have been told they're not going back to school this school year. Most kids I know, despite the fact that they thought they would always love being out of school, they cried when they heard this. So now what? How's it going? Thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think? Oh, I see ups, nothing, other group. I see an up. Who's that down there? Okay.
And feel free, if you're not using video, to rate thumbs up, thumbs down, meh in the chat too.
Oh, good. You can do that in chat. So now what? So you're going to think I'm crazy, but I suspect there's actually things out there that you guys are grateful for. There are some things about this, and there were a lot of thumbs up, that are actually better. And there's a whole field of psychology called positive psychology that can be really, really helpful for people to actually feel better and be able to cope better with things. And one of the really important pieces of positive psychology is to actually train yourself to be grateful and to look for things, to show gratitude, to recognize it and acknowledge it. So use your chat. Is there anything specific that you can say that you are grateful for that's better about this whole crazy upside down world we're in with coronavirus? Something you like or appreciate or enjoyed or that's working for you? And Dr. Laura is going to read us some of those answers for what you're grateful for.
I have a Zoom for a chronic migraine. It's a Miles for, have you heard of Miles for Migraine?
I just heard someone talk.
Oh, that's me, I think. I'm May.
Hi, May.
So I'm grateful that, so I'm out of school right now on medical leave. I'm actually in the hospital right now. But
oh, May, welcome.
but I'm out of school right now on medical leave. So it's helpful that me being home all the time, all of my friends are home all the time now too. So they understand, they're like, this sucks. I'm upset. I'm not seeing anyone. I'm like, I've been doing this since December. Like, this is nothing new for me.
Absolutely. So other people now know what your experience is like. And I'm
Yeah.
hearing a lot of kids say that because I'm a psychiatrist that have
Mhm.
depression, and they're saying now other people get what it's like to be home and not be
Yeah.
able to see people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, May.
Of
Anyone else
course.
want to share something they're grateful for? You can talk. Great.
Oh, I was just gonna say I had like a really similar kind of like realization. So like basically my whole thing started, I was doing like intense like gymnastics stuff like almost every day, and then I got a concussion and then things spiraled out of control. But like everyone was like, "Oh my God, my whole like everything I like to do was taken away from me because of the coronavirus." And I'm like, welcome to my world. And I talked to one of my other friends online. She doesn't have
Kelly,
migraine.
excuse me 1 minute. Kelly, are we getting Zoom bombed? There's an inappropriate photo on my screen. Oh, it went away as soon as I said, nope, it's there. I don't know. Okay, now there's a person back. Someone was just, keep going.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
And and I don't know. I was talking to her, and she doesn't have migraine. She has a different like chronic illness, but she was saying, "Oh yeah, no, like everyone gets it now. Like everyone understands like your things you like would want to do, but like can't do anymore." Kind of like you'll feel
Right.
that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm struggling with technology. So if you could just say your name, if you want to talk out loud, or are there other things that people chatted to us that they're grateful for?
No other chats yet, but if anyone else wants to make any other suggestions, feel free to use the chat too.
Okay.
Right. Is this the same thing
What?
you have?
No, it's different.
Can I have that since you can't do the things at
Yeah.
once?
Well, personally, I'm grateful for more time with my family also, because whenever I was home all day with home instruction, my grandmother would be able to come over and I would see her a lot. But my mom, my dad both work full time, so I wouldn't see them as much. And also my sister was at college, so I'm really excited that she's at home now too.
So you're not as alone, and
Yeah.
other people know what you're going through.
Yeah.
What I'm also hearing a lot of, I skipped ahead, it doesn't go there, is that people are grateful that they don't have to get up so early. Any takers on that one?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents still wake me up at the same time, or try to keep me on a normal schedule. So,
How early is that?
well, around like 7:30, so it's not that bad. But
Do you have virtual school all day where classes start at 8?
yeah, and then both my parents are they work in education, so they're kind of homeschooling me at the same time, which has its difficulties, I'd say. But
So it's one of the interesting things, if we get a chance, we can talk about, because I am talking to a lot of teenagers. Most people aren't waking up as early, and that's been kind of good for their headache disorders to be able to get a little more sleep. But sleep can be really tricky, which is where I'm going next, which is that, so you all still are supposed to be in school because you're teenagers, and we're virtual schooling. So there's an expression we use that some of you may have heard that you may not actually like hearing more about, but since it's school, I figured we could talk about getting smart. And I'm just going to touch on this briefly, and Dr. Lara can do more later. But the idea behind being smart is using your brain, because a smart brain is a healthy brain. And for everyone on this call has some kind of chronic headache disorder. And so really taking care of our brains by being smart, by getting enough sleep. And we have a lot of ways that we can help people with their sleep, but the most important part of sleep is a regular schedule. And most of you don't have a lot of reason to wake up super early now. So sleep is smart. Eating and drinking, I don't need to say more about, but food is fuel. Activity, we're going to talk about some. Are any of you getting any physical activity? You can use your chat or you can speak up. And I'm going to add to that relaxation. Are you doing yoga or mindfulness or taking walks, or have you found any way to work out at home that you like? Anyone have anything they're able to do right now for physical activity?
I went for a bike ride yesterday with my dad, and then I also went for a run after that. And before that, I was going to my gym, and I'm super upset that it closed. But I was going to my gym daily for like an hour or two.
That's great.
I do low impact weightlifting because running and stuff aggravates my head. But today I wanted to try, or yesterday I wanted to try running again, and I ran around my cul-de-sac, which I'm not sure how, you know how much is? I ran like a half a mile, and my head was right after. So
you were outside.
I was hospitalized for 9 days because my migraine spiked. So that's pretty good.
That's great. And you were outside. Anyone else getting any activity? Ideas, suggestions, things that work?
Yeah, I've been trying to lift weights every day when I can. I've
Great.
also gone on, I try to go for a run in the morning if I can, if I don't wake up with a migraine.
So I have much lower expectations of myself. I walk, and I think it's great to get outside and walk. And I'm actually doing a lot of virtual walk and talks. I'm FaceTiming with people.
My wife can bring.
Dad, you're interrupting the whole chat. I'm going to mute myself really quick. Hold on.
That's okay. And then I wanted to mention, Dr. Lisa, we have another comment in the chat from Christine, who says that her and her siblings pick up trash in the woods and walk around, which is awesome because you're getting in the physical activity and helping the community all in one.
Yep. Absolutely. And I've actually asked my own daughters if they could, to go along with the walk and talk, to call their grandmothers because their grandparents are home alone. So also doing something good for someone else as you're trying to do something to not be so stuck in your house right now. And Dr. Laura will talk more about some of these things. So before I asked about what you're grateful for and what's better, if you could chat or speak, what's the hardest part about school for you, either live school or virtual school? Each of us has something different. What's the hardest part?
For me, it's 100% the fact that everything's on laptops, smartboards, just screens in general are huge triggers for me. So I have to have everything printed out. I get like made fun of and kind of like bullied about my migraines. Like if we watch a movie in school, someone will raise their hand and say, "Oh, my name's May. I have chronic migraine. Can you print out the movie for me? I can't watch it on the screen."
Oh my goodness, May. People actually say that out loud?
That's my childhood friend who I've known since I was 6 years old, said that in history class last year.
I am very sorry that you have that experience. And one of the things I do, yeah, I haven't presented with Dr. Laura before or Kelly, but I'm happy to go in what direction we go. Have other of you had situations where you need to cope with a friend who directly says mean things?
Oh, I have another one too. Does anyone else have anything?
Thanks, May. So maybe at the end I hear a voice.
Kind of, yeah. I've had people say like, "Oh, he's probably just home smoking weed, playing video games all day," when in reality I've been having chronic migraines for the past month and could not be able to go to school and stuff like that. Just
yeah, my friends just like, sorry. My friend just like
it's all good.
don't really get it. Like, so we went ice skating one time, like me and two other friends, and I was like kind of made a comment. I was like, oh, I'm gonna pay for this for the next like 2 days, and they're like, oh no, you're just being like you're just being like stop being so negative. Like, you have so many reasons to like be positive and stuff. And like, I don't know. Also, like in school, I had some issues with people. Like, I don't know. I go to like a private school and everyone's like super, like uptight about like their grades and stuff. And for me, like, I find it just like really hard to like pay attention, because that's something that I like really struggle with. That's probably the hardest thing for me in school, because if my head hurts, I'm just like, I can't like be in class. And the nurse, actually, like at my school, I've had a lot of issues with her. Like, she just like thinks I'm trying to get out of class and stuff. So like I end up just not going to the nurse, but just like sitting there just in class, just like I should be at the nurse, but like I can't. So I don't know. That's not specific, but like, I don't know. I just feel
No,
like
I hear specific things there. And so if I'm keeping track in my head, and Dr. Glarick can help me fill in, I hear that other kids don't understand. They can be directly mean about it and make fun of you. That even the nurse or the adults don't understand. That it's really hard to concentrate when your head hurts. That screens can be really, really hard. Were there some others that people said, or anything else people? Is just getting up early and going hard?
I have another one. Well, yeah, that's difficult for me, but then also I have another story about like being bullied about it. So I was at a party for my friend Courtney, and I think it was 8th grade. So this was like the very, very beginning of this. It was the first time I was hospitalized, and someone said, oh, I said something to my friend about him and like my friend like dating or talking or something. And then he was like, well, at least I don't go to the hospital for 9 days and fake a migraine just to get out of school.
So the idea of people taking you seriously.
Yeah, saying
all
that it's
of
not
these
real,
things-
that it's fake, that
Yep.
you can't see it, so nothing's happening to me, like stuff like that.
So everyone on this call knows that your headache disorders are real, and that it's not just a headache. That's often one of the taglines we use in Miles for Migraine in the headache world. One of the things that that people have been suggesting on social media as we try to tackle these problems is that we take, there it is, baby steps, and that we also use videos of puppies and babies whenever possible. So since I'm stealing them from the internet, you're going to see all my ads. I'll skip it as soon as I can. Got one more for you. I just thought the empathy that little girl and the emotion that she was displaying for her little sister walking was wonderful. So there are strategies, and this is a kind of a tangent, but when you're dealing with different things in life, difficult things, sometimes we need to be able to distract ourselves, and this world upside down coronavirus time is a time when sometimes, even though your parents might tell you the opposite, that we do just need to watch videos of babies or baby animals. Yesterday, the highlight of my day was seeing a zonkey. Did anyone see the mule zebra with the striped legs? Very rare, apparently. So I thought the zonkey was the highlight of the day. I'm actually surprised that none of you brought up sleep, because the kids I'm talking to are talking about how messed up their sleep schedules are, being one of the hardest things that's happening with virtual school. Show of hands or thumbs up or chats, or anyone struggling with sleep, or we can skip right past it.
Well, I didn't sleep at all like one night because I had to take my abortive medicine, which is Furoset, naproxen, and Maxalt. And the Furoset has caffeine in it, but it usually makes me fall asleep for a little bit, and then I'll wake up and won't be able to sleep. But since when I take it at like bedtime, it'll just knock me out and I'll sleep through the night. I took 2 Benadryl, I took melatonin, and I'm on Seroquel also, which is like a new preventative medicine.
Yeah.
And they're all supposed to make me tired. And I was up for like 40 hours straight. Like I took all those medicines together, and my mind was keeping me up.
Yeah. So May, when you have so many complicated medical things, those are really good things to stay in close touch with your doctor about, because sometimes what we can talk about in this is more general, and you have a lot of things that make it real complicated for your sleep with all those medicines. And for all of you, your doctors, you want to help them pay close attention to your sleep. For right now, since it's not an issue for anyone, I don't know the name of the person, your name doesn't show, whose parents are getting you up at 7:30 in the morning. But I was having pretty modest goals for sleep, which is waking up in the morning before noon is the first goal for a lot of kids I'm talking to. If you don't have scheduled school, it's really easy for teenagers to flip their days and nights. So we're just trying to work now, a few weeks into this, to getting wake up times before noon, before 11, maybe 9, 10 o'clock, because teenagers' natural sleep cycle is to be up later at night and sleep a little later into the morning. In our community, a lot of schools are shifting to later start times because of that. So that's one of the advantages of online school, is you have the opportunity to start a little later. So the hopeful tip I want to give you about virtual school is, in many ways, except for all the screens, you're getting a taste of college. College is going to be better for all of you, because in college, you are in control of your schedule and how you're learning. So as you have to do your classes now with virtual school, I want you to think about, for those of you who have that option, talking to your parents about being able to start a little later, not at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, if that's not your natural schedule. Really pay attention to the time of day that works best for you, and take lots of breaks. Figure out the amount of time you can work, and then a short break. If you're having trouble getting started or getting back to work, how many of you know how to find your stopwatch on your phone? Yes, you can all do that? Right. Time it, because sometimes things take us hours and hours and hours, because actually as we're doing them, we're checking Instagram and checking our email and seeing what the headlines are, and scrolling through Twitter, which we get stuck on, or getting a snack. And grown-ups have other ways we distract ourselves, deciding to cook dinner or do the laundry. Or so every time you get up to do something else, or your attention goes away from your work, stop your stopwatch. And what most of you are going to find with online school is you're not actually spending nearly as much time working as you think you are. And when you do it for a few days and you realize, yeah, I could actually knock that out in 20 minutes, it won't be as hard to sit down and work. And so pacing it, lots of breaks, timing it, and then really making sure that you have things that give you joy. And the most surprising thing for me in the last month, as we haven't had to focus so much on all the pressure and kids' busy schedules and all of that, is to find out that for a lot of the kids I talk to, they're having trouble saying that they really have things that they love to do. Even the things that are their extracurricular activities have become a source of stress and competition and performing for other people. And so I thought kids, oh, they love theater, or they love singing or painting or yoga, and they're having trouble recognizing these things as things they enjoy anymore. Is anyone else, show of hands or chat, are you having trouble finding things that you actually love to do, or are you better at that because you've had so much time home alone? What do you think? You don't have to give an answer, but I do think it's important to find things that give you joy. And then I'm a broken record. Take a walk. Every single solitary day, one of the things we know really helps people is to be able to get outside. You don't have to train for a marathon. You don't have to be out for an hour. Go back to the baby steps. 10 minutes. If you can start to get outside for 10 minutes and then increase that amount of time. And you may be surprised how much you're able, how much more you want to be outside, especially it's spring out there. Any questions about pacing it, taking breaks, having things every day that give you joy? They're very educational. If any of you have ever been actually homeschooled, you get a lot of credit for learning to play guitar or paint or do yoga or things like that.
I don't have any questions, but I actually do like to time it. Like I had this really big project that I had to do for science, and I set a timer for every day from where I set an alarm for 12 and it said start working on the project, and I set an alarm for 12:30 and it said stop. So I would know that from 12 to 12:30, that was my time that I had to be on, either on the computer with all my filters on it, or reading through research or whatever it was in order to complete that assignment.
Setting timers is a great idea. There's also a bunch of apps that will keep you off of the things that distract you. One is called Self-Control. I learned that one from my daughter. That will absolutely lock you out. It doesn't matter what you do to your phone. And another thing is, I know a bunch of kids now who use Siri or Alexa to say, hey Siri, tell me to start my homework at 6 o'clock, or hey, Alexa, set an alarm for whatever time to take my medicine. So your phones, your technology that are always on you are a great way to help you stay organized, keep a schedule, because it is really hard to pay attention. Someone else said that when your head hurts, pain really does make it harder to pay attention. And then screens. Has anyone ever seen this picture before? Posture. I worked really hard today to try to get this right. Your head is really, really heavy. So if you sit straight up and put your head on top of your neck, on top of your shoulders, there's not a lot of, your head is heavy, but there's not a lot of strain on all those neck muscles. As soon as you go forward a little, everyone can try this. Can you feel how heavy your head is as you start to bend it forward? And then when you go all the way forward, that position we use when we have our laptops in bed, we're laying in bed and holding our laptop on our chins like that, our heads are really heavy and they really, really strain our neck muscles. And that contributes to making migraines worse. So you can scroll around the internet and think about this. Parents, you're not allowed to nag your kids about this. We all do it. I know there's some parents in the room. But you may find that working on your posture, and one day when we're not on house arrest, working on some physical therapy can be really helpful. The more time we spend on screens, the harder it is to really deal with the posture and the neck muscles. So it's good to be aware of. And believe it or not, when we're on our screens, we're supposed to be in a well-lit area. I already talked to someone today that said they've been on meetings all day and their eyes hurt and their head hurt. So having the room lit, turning the brightness down on your screen. Has everyone, I'm just doing it now. Has everyone turned the brightness, but well lit, but not too lit for all of us people who get migraines, which includes me. If I wasn't on the camera, I'd have turned my lights down more. Turn the brightness down on your screen. clean your display, which I absolutely never do, but it makes it all smudgy and puts more strain on your eyes. And then has anyone ever heard of the 20-20-20 rule? Work for 20 minutes, rest for, I put 20 seconds, that seems too short, but you at least want to look away from your screen for 20 seconds and look at something 20 feet away. And that's because when you look at something close up, your eyes have to converge and use all those muscles. And when you look at something far away, it relaxes those muscles in your eyes. So those breaks are important. Having something to look at far away, rest your eyes. I need reading glasses now. Anyone have glasses to deal with glare on your screen? Oh, some people do. You have glasses. There's special filters for the screen or for glasses that may be really important now because of doing virtual school. I didn't put it here, but there's a company called TheraSpecs. I can give that to Kelly and she can email it out. So turn down the brightness, and then there are some different, there's a website, there's called justgetflux.com, f.lux, that helps with the amount of blue light from your screen, and then night shift is on your iPhones and iPads so that it will dim at night, because all that blue light can really both be a strain on our eyes and our heads and give us trouble falling asleep at night. And then you guys know more about backgrounds and filters than I do, but I heard from one teacher that one of the challenges with the kids, particularly with middle school girls, was having people stare at you all day on the screen, and they were letting the kids use filters to alter what they looked like. You can also change your background if you don't want people seeing your room. And then I have to see myself while I do this. I think it's perfectly reasonable, if they're telling you we have to be able to see you in the screen, to just be really bad at tilting your camera so that there's just a little bit of you in it. If staring at yourself all day or having people stare at you is an issue, feel free to take some breaks from that. It gets pretty intense. So you guys are very skilled with screens. I heard one person say concussion from gymnastics. Others have concussions, hands up or thumbs up. Anyone else have a concussion? No, it's unusual. Okay. So for a lot of people with chronic headaches or concussions, reading with your eyes can get tiring, or when your head hurts, reading with your eyes gets exhausting. There are a lot of ways to listen to text. Audible.com is professional recordings, and they are free right now for students for a lot of those things. If nothing else, the Harry Potter series, the person won a Grammy who read all the Harry Potter books. It's free. Listen to Harry Potter. LearningAlly.org also has volunteer recordings of a lot of your textbooks. So often when your head hurts too much and your eyes hurt too much to read with your eyes, you can read with your ears and listen. And does anyone, if you go to private school, you won't have something called a 504 or an IEP, but most of you should have a plan in school. Does anyone have no idea what I'm talking about for a plan in school? No one is saying, wait, what are you talking about? Okay. So the trick about your plan in school, and remember I said this is more like college, is once you get to college, you're the person that's going to advocate for yourself. Your parents won't be speaking up for you. So high school is when you get to slowly start to learn to ask for what you need and to advocate for yourself. So this is a good time to think about what you need, how to speak up, which means sending an email. Your parents can help you if you'd like, and ask for breaks and snacks and water and not being on the screen or not looking at the screen. And one of the big things is modifying your workload up front. Don't wait until you're all the way behind to ask for, do I need as many appointments? Not appointments, do I need to do as many problems? ask up front and figure out, hey, if you're missing 20, 30, 40% of your time because you're spending that much time not in class, even virtual class because of your headache, then maybe they can reduce 20, 30, 40% of the work you're expected to do. But it gets really stressful and overwhelming if you wait to ask for them to reduce the work till you're already behind. And right now, teachers hopefully and schools hopefully are being really thoughtful and accommodating and supportive because we know how difficult it is for kids. So now we're going to do this really important thing that we always tell you about. I just did a lot of talking, so we're going to take a breath.
Lisa, we can't hear your audio
You
because
can.
it's going through your headphones, I think.
Ah.
Thanks. I was just going to mention that too.
Hold your breath.
So at first I was like, oh, this is very relaxing. Like, I think they're talking.
Keep going, sinking your breath to the arrow. Breathe out.
So it's counts of
And hold.
4. So did you not hear the
Breathe.
babies?
No.
Oh, the babies were so cute. They were cute to look at too. Sorry.
They
I'm
were
glad
very
you-
cute to look at.
Cuter even. So remember to connect, guys. You know how to do this better than I do. Here, I should plug this back in.
Anyone used any of these or something else? A Netflix watch party, Jackbox TV, playing cards, house party, a virtual walk and talk. Have you used any of these with friends or with family? I do not see any hands. May has. Oh, I don't. Gymnastic
And
person.
Connor.
Beth has. Connor has. Any other ideas for ways to connect?
FaceTime
FaceTime?
on your phone, because it's like, especially for me, my computer screen is like kind of big, so it's like more surface area for me to have to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Got my phone, it's smaller, and I saw night shift mode. I also have reduced white point on my phone too. I don't know if anyone knows about that, but it takes out, like, I don't know, it just like really dims the screen a lot more. So I always have that on the whole way. I actually have reduced white point on, like, if I triple click my like lock button, my phone's dead right now. I don't have a charger. Of course, when I'm in the hospital. But if I triple click, then it'll make it brighter, and then if I triple click, it'll make it less bright. So I can talk to friends, and even just like calling friends on the phone if looking at a screen is really difficult for you, or like texting, anything like that.
Yeah, my phone, I put the reduce white point thing on it. I can kind of show it. I don't know if I have it on now, but oops. Like, my phone looks like this. Normally, I always have the orange thing on. I have the, like, filter literally all the time. It's always
I do
on.
too.
But, like, you can put, well, for me, you can also, like, slide up and click on it. So, like, right now, it's like this. But if you do the, like, thing, I need to do it when it's not. I need to do it while I'm looking at it. And then it's like that, kind of. You can't really see it, but it's, like, really.
Huh.
It's so dark that you can't see it on my computer reflection, but
That's what everyone says. Everyone's like,
I know.
your screen's on. I'm like, yes, my screen is on.
I know, people make fun of me for that. Always having the orange light on, whatever.
Okay. So it's called reduce white point?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
is
you can go in accessibility.
it's in your accessibility settings. I will add that to my slides. Reduce white point.
It's either
Yeah,
in
it's really
accessibility
helpful.
or display. I don't know which one.
Cool.
It's definitely in display, but I don't know where you go after that.
So the nice thing now with everyone home, like you guys started out saying, is everyone's home. So all of these ways to connect, everyone's reduced to the same things, which are how you guys have been connecting. And then back to try something you love. There is so much online for free. There's these people, you know, there's all kinds of guitar lessons. Some of my kids told me about Bob Ross, who teaches you how to paint. There's great dance lessons. I know kids learning a TikTok dance every day. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to show you one of these, but Kelly can share slides with you so you can have links. And then I was watching TV yesterday, and there was a commercial on for Calm, one of the free apps. I'm sorry, you have to listen to the ad, I think. And it was a take 30 seconds. This one's 15 seconds.
Calm. Download the free app now.
It stopped me in my tracks.
Ad on TV the other day. If Dr. Lara has time at the end, we can come back to this one. COVID-19 or coronavirus is making us all anxious. That is our shared experience right now for many, many reasons. I have always said if there was only one thing I could take with me to a desert island, it would be the AWARE technique. I want to show you what it looks like in case you don't look at the slides. Just Google AWARE. Now you're curious. So I'm going to stop there. This is all available to all of you. The links are all live. I love the AWARE technique. And if we have time, we'll come back at the end. Any quick questions for me right now about school, virtual school?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Sure.
The app Calm. I also have an app called Aura that I like. And if your parents track you using Life 360, I got an email and it comes free for a year when you have Life 360. So it has like podcasts if you're feeling anxious, like you like describe how you're feeling and then what you need, and then it gives you like a video or a picture or something to help you out.
Aura, A-U-R-A?
Yes.
Okay, Aura. And Dr. Lara has a whole list of free apps at the end also. In fact, I'll just.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. I think apps are awesome, especially right now because we're all relying on technology a lot. There are so many options, and a lot of apps, which is great, are offering either free trials or giving premium content for free. So I highly recommend checking some of those out.
So Laura, do you want me to do your slides because I'm sharing my screen, or are you also able to control it?
I think if I control it, I have to share my screen.
So do you want to do that, or do you want to just tell me next?
If it's okay, I can just tell you next. Does that work?
Sure. Good. We're flexible.
We are very flexible. All right, so I have some wordy slides, but I will kind of cut to the chase with some of these. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time focusing on tips for managing anxiety, depressive symptoms, stress, headache symptoms, right? A lot of the things we're talking about apply to all of those different areas. And the first thing I wanted to mention that's really important is just kind of acknowledging and validating the symptoms that you have. So like Dr. Lisa was saying, all the stuff that's happening with COVID-19 is affecting everybody, right? Definitely maybe in different ways, but it's a really uncertain time. There's a lot of anxiety and stress, and it's affecting everyone. So kind of to like recognize with yourself to just be aware of that and kind of cut yourself some slack. And this next part that I have on the slide is interactive. So I was really curious and wanted to ask all of you, whoever feels comfortable sharing what things you've noticed. So during this time, since COVID's happened, do you feel like your headaches have stayed the same, gotten worse, gotten any better? Or even thinking about your stress, anxiety, sadness, if you experience those things, what have you noticed? Either if those things have gotten better or gotten any worse. If anybody feels comfortable sharing in the chat or via video, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
My stress has definitely been a lot worse, like my stress and anxiety levels. And then my migraines have been a lot worse. But I think that's because of the weather changing.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's really anxious about it too, so then that makes me anxious about it and all.
Yes.
And then also like I feel like sad and lonely like go hand in hand, but like lonely because like I'm still seeing my family, but like I'm not seeing anyone outside of my family anymore, at least in person anymore.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you jumped to the other part too, which I appreciate, right? Like not only thinking about what changes you're noticing, but why might that be? And I listed some examples that may not apply to everybody, but kind of cover the spectrum, right? So some people might be feeling a little bit better because school isn't as stressful as it may be used to be. Or maybe people feel good that they can finally spend time focusing on things that they want to do. Whereas other people might feel exactly, May, like you were saying, that doing all the social distancing because of COVID actually makes you feel more lonely. And you might feel really stressed because you're having to spend so much more time with your family and being in very close quarters with them, right? And that affects people differently too. And then others of you might feel that just everything going on with COVID right now has just completely amped up your anxiety level. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience, May. Does anybody else have any thoughts or want to share how they've been feeling? Yeah.
I can go. I don't know. I felt kind of the same, like as what May said. Like, I feel like I've just been like, I don't know. It's kind of given me an excuse to like sit in my room all day and like have no motivation to do anything, which is something that like normally I would have. But like going to school, I feel like gave me like a purpose, and now I feel like I have like less of like I'm not going to school. I'm not seeing anyone. Like, I don't know. Personally, me, I was like really looking forward to the spring. There was a lot of stuff that was going on like with my friends that we like, there was like a fight and like a thing that happened right before we, this whole thing started. So like, maybe that's too in depth, but like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like, I don't know. I feel like it just like hasn't helped. I mean, the one thing is like school, we're not getting graded anymore. So like, that's good. But like, I don't know. Other than that, it's just kind of like.
That's crazy you're not getting graded.
Well, I think it's like what they're doing is they're still grading us, but they're only counting, it's pass fail, but we're still getting grades. They're just only counting the better of the 2 semesters. So if you fail, if you get it below a 60, then you have to like do summer school.
Thanks for sharing that too, Grace. That's completely understandable to me. Right now is a time when the weather's getting nicer outside and you want to be doing more things and maybe had activities you were really looking forward to. And it feels really tough when you're like, wow, here's another day where I'm like in my room and don't really have as much going on like I used to. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that a lot of people have kept saying, what day is it today? Like, I have no idea, because they all blur together and they all feel the same. So I appreciate you sharing that. Anybody else feel comfortable sharing? Sure,
Yeah.
Connor, go for it.
Yeah, my migraines have been actually gotten a lot worse in the past few weeks. I don't know. I was getting sick before that, not the COVID, but I think that was probably one of the triggers for it. But I'd say my mood hasn't been that great since I've been sleeping a lot of, like, most of the day when I'm having migraines. When I can sleep, been taking a lot of Benadryl to try to get to sleep, and maybe 8 pills won't get me to feel tired anymore. So it's just yeah, I haven't been doing that great in school either, because of I've been missing my Zoom meetings and a lot of that because of my migraines, and I'm kind of behind, and that kind of makes me stressed out. And we're still getting graded, which doesn't help either. So
I definitely get what he's saying with when he's sick. I don't know if you're talking about like a cold or something like that, but definitely when my allergies get worse and if I get a cold or something, my migraine is absolutely unmanageable. Like I don't even know what to do with myself. And I think that's what happened like a few weeks ago, but I was able to get an emergency nerve block within like a few days or like a week or something. So it was able to be managed somewhat. But before that, I was just like not okay in my bed all day in like excruciating pain. And I didn't even know, like I just didn't know what to do to make
yeah, I haven't been able to go up to the hospital to get a nerve block, and it's been it's kind of because I'm about 2 hours away from the hospital.
the
And
one in
then
Philadelphia.
no, I live in California, so
Oh,
it's
that's unfortunate.
yeah.
They have
Yeah.
like headache clinics though. And I know that, I don't know if there are any near you, but my neurologist told me that I could try to contact a headache clinic to get a nerve block. So I don't know if there are any of those near you that would be able to do that. But that's what my neurologist told me. So I don't know if that would help you or not.
So it's
Yeah.
Go ahead, Connor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
You know, I think one thing you guys are demonstrating is that a lot of us think, oh, the kids are out of school, all the stress is off. And so, and they can sleep in and they're home, their headaches will be better. But people with really chronic headache disorders, these are really serious medical conditions. And we're under a lot of stress being home under these circumstances. And a lot of things are taken away. So, you know, a few of you are saying you're actually worse, not better right now, which may surprise the grown-ups around you or other kids. I'm so glad you asked, Dr. Laura, because we make assumptions sometimes.
Yeah, that's very
what'll
true.
be better.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of you guys sharing your experiences, and it is really tough, right? Because it can become a vicious cycle where you're not feeling good, it's allergy season, you get sick, it makes everything worse, you need to sleep more, and then like Connor, you were mentioning, as a result, you're missing more of your school time and just feeling like you're falling behind, and it definitely all just becomes this cycle that's really hard to get out of. So I really appreciate you guys talking through that and sharing that with us. And Lisa, if you don't mind going to the next slide, that would be great. So kind of moving on to some more tips, and some of these things actually Dr. Lisa already touched on earlier, and some of these to you guys probably won't seem too new and you've probably heard before. But the first one that I wanted to mention is to try as much as you can to stick to a routine. I know, Connor, you mentioned earlier that you are still, your parents are, you know, making you wake up at 7:30 every morning, which is pretty incredible, and you're kind of trying to stick to that routine. I think Dr. Lisa would agree too. I think it's really important, especially during this time, to keep a routine, but also give yourself flexibility in knowing that this situation right now is very unprecedented and again is affecting all of us in different ways. So definitely be flexible with yourself. I think acknowledge that there are going to be good days and not so good days, but as best as you can, especially with sleep, try to wake up and go to bed around the same time as much as you can, because that will help your body stay in a routine. And then simple things, right? Like I know, again, some days are better than others, but as best as you can, like try to keep taking care of your hygiene and self-care, like getting dressed, taking a shower, doing these things to remind yourself and your body that even though you are at home all the time, you're still kind of getting ready for the day and taking those steps. And then I also think it can be important to kind of designate an area in your home for when you do the online learning or schoolwork. Especially it can be really helpful, right? It's so easy to stay in our bedrooms all day now, especially with what's going on. And I think it's really important to try to, I know you've probably seen this, right? Those silly diagrams that people have come up with where it's like, what will I do today? Maybe I'll walk to the dining room or the living room or the kitchen. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I do think getting that change of scenery can be really helpful, especially for those of you who struggle falling asleep or staying asleep. The more activities that we do near our bed or in our bed, it actually makes our body have more difficulty falling asleep at night. So I do think just kind of moving around and doing things in different areas of your house can be really important too. And then, like many of you have heard, as much as you can, try to stay on top of those healthy lifestyle habits. So eating regularly, right, as healthfully as you can during this time, drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated, really important. Getting good sleep, like Dr. Lisa mentioned earlier, as best as you can, and trying to get in that exercise. Again, even if it's just doing stretches or going on a walk outside, just something to keep your body moving, all of those things are really important, especially I would say in a time like this, without a doubt. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too is that I think a lot of us, right, teens and adults alike, we really need to kind of shift our expectations of what we expect for ourselves, what we expect to get done during this time, right? There may have been a lot of goals or things you had on your mind that you were really looking forward to moving forward with or doing. And since all this COVID stuff happened, I think it's really important to maybe like shift those expectations of yourself and focus on the things that you feel are achievable, that you can accomplish. And I put a little acronym on this slide that refers to something called SMART goals. So these, I won't go into too much detail now, but this is just an acronym to help you when you do, for example, have things you need to get done with school, ways to really like condense it down so that you don't feel so overwhelmed in getting things done. So making things really specific and achievable and realistic. I think right now is really important. Again, like I think a key word throughout this whole talk really is just being flexible, right? Cutting yourself some slack and having a lot of flexibility and maybe acknowledging that, well, I was supposed to get all this stuff done today and I kind of just did X, Y, and Z and being okay with that. And I think we're all kind of in that together. It's tough.
Well, Dr. Laura was talking. I don't know if people noticed who can see who on the screen. I just took my glasses off because they were bothering my eyes, took my earbuds out because they were bothering my ears, turned my lights down, got in a different position, and I have 2 different cups of water here that I'm drinking because all those things are migraine triggers for me. And it can be really hard when you're on a Zoom and like I'm supposed to be presenting here, or you're in a classroom and other people see you, to be able to be flexible and generous with yourself and do the things you need to do to take care of yourself. But it's good to be able to do that. I can't see, you're a little blurry because I don't have my glasses on, but at least it doesn't hurt anymore. So be
That's
flexible,
a great point.
generous.
Thank you for pointing that out. Those are great examples. And then I think another really important thing, right, as much as you can, is to try to schedule, I know it sounds crazy, but right, we try to do enjoyable activities that we like to do, but sometimes it's hard, especially right now. I know a lot of you earlier mentioned that it just, you know, you might feel more sadness right now because you're not doing as much as you used to be doing. So even trying to schedule pleasant activities in your day, or thinking about like, how can I take breaks and do things that I enjoy doing that I'm able to do right now? And for some of you, right, the mornings or late mornings might be the hardest part. And I personally find that because a lot of the days are kind of seamless and flow together, I find it really helpful to start my day by maybe doing an activity that I really enjoy doing, or just something that kind of gets your day started. So I find it really helpful to just take a step outside and get some fresh air before I even start doing any other things in my day. But there could be other activities that you really value or things that give you more joy, and it can be helpful to start your day off doing those things. And then the next slide would be awesome. Thank you so much. And then there are a few extra things I wanted to mention too that I think are really critical. So for those of you who would describe yourselves as maybe being a little bit more anxious or more prone to stress, I also think it is critical to set boundaries with yourself, right? So we are all being inundated with all of this news coverage and media, whether it's like through TV or our phones, about COVID-19 and how it's affecting people, right? It's just like endless and constantly coming in. And I would say for those of you who do feel more anxious in general or notice that that really makes you more stressed, I would actually recommend limiting how much you are watching the news or going online and looking up data and statistics related to COVID. I think it can be helpful to set like a timer and give yourself a time limit on that stuff, or telling yourself, well, if I'm curious about what's going on, I'll check once at night just to see how things are going. Because I think the more and more we hear about that stuff, it can just make us feel a lot worse. So I definitely wanted to mention that. And then kind of connected to that, I think it's really important to focus on what we can control right now, right? So I'm not going to review this because you've probably heard it a million times, but some of the things we can control are washing our hands, right, for 20 seconds, engaging in social distancing. So all of these things that we do have control over, focus on that, right? Another thing is to use coping skills. So I am 100% certain that a lot of you, right, in other situations you've experienced before, have probably developed a lot of different coping skills, whether it's for stress or anxiety or sadness or things that are just kind of your go-tos that are really helpful. And during a time like this, it's really important to remember those things, all of those things, like for stress management, anxiety, whatever it is, are really, really important to use during a time like this as well. And in a little bit, I'll just quickly go over a few different categories of coping tools and give some ideas about what that can look like as well. And then another thing I wanted to point out too is to, again, that word flexible, but be flexible and get creative, right? So there are a lot of ways that you can maybe do things you used to do in a very different way, more creatively, but still feel like you're enjoying yourself or staying connected with other people. So again, a lot of the things that Dr. Lisa brought up earlier, like having a Netflix party, or I know, May, you brought up like FaceTiming with other people and staying connected. All of those things are really, really important, just to try to think of ways that you can still do the things you really enjoy doing. They might look a little bit different, but being creative with that, I think, can be helpful too. And then I know we asked you guys earlier to think about gratitude and certain things that you feel grateful for. And kind of along those lines, there might be some silver linings, right, with what's going on right now. For some of us, those might be harder to think about than others, but just to throw out some examples, for some of you, you might feel like, well, even though all of this has been super challenging, I've actually talked to certain people who I haven't really connected with in a long time. And that might be an example of a silver lining. Or you feel like you're able to maybe focus on things that you didn't have time to do before. So I think it's really important to kind of think about that too. Not to like be overly unrealistically positive during a time like this, but I think it can be helpful to think about those things. And then I think one of the most important things is being kind to yourself, right? And kind of having that self-compassion and realizing that this is a really, again, a new kind of uncertain, unheard of time that nobody has ever gone through before. And recognizing that, and if you are struggling, kind of like acknowledging why that might be, kind of like what we did earlier, I think is important too. And then the next slide. Thank you so much. So now I know I just did a lot of talking. I wanted to get your thoughts via the chat or video of any things that you guys feel like you've tried or used that have been helpful, whether it's in managing your stress or anxiety or headache symptoms. Are there any things you would recommend to everybody else?
We tired them out.
I know.
You guys mentioned
examples. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Haley. So Haley mentioned taking walks while listening to a book or a podcast. That is a great example. Thank you for sharing that. And so I know this is a long presentation, but we can keep plowing through unless anybody else has any other examples. We can keep moving on. And on this next slide, I won't spend too long on this, but I do feel that right now is a really great time and opportunity to think about like what things are important to you in your life. So what things do you value? And maybe it might be helpful to think about this to give you some direction with how you want to spend your time, right? So I know a lot of people who are very creative and into sewing have decided to start sewing masks to send to the community or healthcare workers. That's just one example, but it is a good time to think about like what things are important to you, and are there certain things that maybe you've never been able to try or do that you'd like to start getting involved with now. So I just wanted to mention that.
So Dr. Laura, I'm going to give you a heads up because I went over because you guys did a lot of talking, which was great. So it's 6:20, and I know you have a lot of slides, so you're going to need to pick and choose.
Yeah, yep.
Open toolbox.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So this is actually kind of the critical slide. So I wanted to talk about this quickly because these are different categories of things that all of you can use as coping tools. Again, for mood, for headache, stress, and I'll very quickly be able to go through a lot of these. Just to help us out, how many of you are familiar with this or have seen some of this before?
You can raise your hand, you can thumbs up. Okay,
Yep.
there we go.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you for doing that. All right. So, and then Lisa, you can go to the next slide. So I'll just go through these kind of rapid fire. So the first one, right, is distraction. So these are things that you can do to take your mind off of stressful things and help boost your mood. So I also wanted to quickly mention there's a list on here, right, of different distractions like comfort, creative activities, hobbies, or interests. I think it can be really helpful to make a list of these things on your phone because sometimes when we're not feeling motivated or we're feeling stressed, it can be really hard to think of things, right, that are good distractions that you enjoy doing. So that can be really helpful. Another thing I wanted to mention is that because of COVID-19, there are some really unique things that you can use as distractions or even activities during the day. Like I know a lot of museums and zoos have virtual tours now. You can check out different national parks, right? There are lots of kind of creative things that even have emerged because of COVID-19. So definitely take advantage of those. And then relaxation. So relaxation helps calm your mind and your body, right, to lower anxiety and stress. And if anything in this kind of category, I would highly recommend scheduling regular times in the day when you do relaxation. So we had a few links that we were gonna kind of do, but because I know the time is short, we'll give you all of these resources. There's a really great progressive muscle relaxation exercise on headachereliefguide.com, which is a website that Dr. Lisa and I strongly recommend you check out. And then I also included a link to a video that talks more about mindfulness and how to incorporate mindfulness in everyday life, which I think is great too.
And there's a lot of free mindfulness out there too, every day, including the Calm app that I showed you before.
Definitely. And then with the thinking piece, so I won't go into too much detail about this, but the main point with this, right, is that we can target a lot of our thoughts to help change how we feel and what we do. And I think especially thinking, related to COVID-19 and everything going on right now, I think it's really important to notice if you do start thinking any negative thoughts, right? We all have negative thoughts and constant negative thinking patterns that pop up, and kind of helping yourself think about what is any evidence that supports or doesn't support this thought. And then most importantly, thinking about probabilities, right? And I think especially a lot about COVID with this example. So all of us hear a lot more about the grim statistics than we hear about the people who are recovering and doing well. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind and ask yourself, what is the probability of this and what is most likely to happen? Those can be some helpful points there. And then staying active. We talked about this a little bit already, so I don't need to go into detail there, but right, staying active and doing even little bits of exercise really helps with your physical and emotional health. So very important to do that. And it can look very different, right? I love Dr. Lisa said earlier, you don't need to go out and run a marathon. Even just taking a walk around the block is fantastic. And so I would encourage you guys, if you haven't already, there are a lot of excellent resources online, like ideas about ways to relax or take a break during the day. And even think about if it would be helpful for you to make your own kind of coping list or coping plan with activities that bring you joy or help you relax or help with stress management. I think that can be really helpful.
And one of the ones I learned that I didn't always know was you don't just have to focus on positive things to distract yourself. I hate to say this because I can't do it, but a really good scary movie sometimes is a really good distraction, or a really sad movie. I know a number of kids who've reread Fault in Our Stars recently, except the crying makes their head hurt more. But it's a distraction because it has intense emotion.
Totally. And this we just wanted to include, right? So if any of you feel like any of these symptoms are getting worse, definitely contact or reach out to your doctors. If you meet with a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, definitely reach out to them. A lot of providers right now are able to use telehealth or telemedicine, which is fantastic, or even people through school like your guidance counselor. And then we've put on here the National Suicide Prevention Line, just because sometimes if you do feel more sadness or have any thoughts at all related to that, we just wanted to share that as a resource as well. And then these are a bunch of website resources, so mostly geared towards parents. But they have some great information on them, a lot of articles about how to kind of navigate everything during COVID-19, some tips, and then like I mentioned earlier, the Headache Relief Guide is a really fantastic website. It has educational videos about headaches, different relaxation strategies and techniques that it walks you through, and it's a great website to check out.
It's very interactive and has a migraine simulator if you ever want to like plug your symptoms in and show people what it's like to have a migraine. It's pretty cool.
And then these are the apps again. Definitely check them out. A lot, like I said earlier, a lot of these companies they used to make you pay for the apps, but now they're giving free trials or giving you access to premium content that you used to have to pay more for. So they're really great, especially for those of you who might be newer to mindfulness practices and things like that. They have a lot of great exercises. If some of that stuff is newer for you, really, really great resources to check out.
And May mentioned Aura, which we could add to this.
Definitely.
And, you know, some kids have told me about Mango Health for helping you remember to take your medicine.
Awesome. And this is yet another website that I love. One of my colleagues and former supervisors developed this, and it's just a nice reminder. It's kind of like a wheel that you go through to kind of check in and see if you might need any of those things kind of that are in the toolbox that I talked about earlier. So that's awesome as well.
Do that.
And I know we're nearing the end of our time. I mean, it would be great if we have flexibility a little bit to kind of answer some questions that you guys have or anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about.
I'm going to turn my lights up again.
So I'm looking in the chat, and somebody just asked, what was the migraine simulator? So that is available on the headachereliefguide.com website. And that's where I know, and Dr. Lisa, feel free to chime in, where you can enter in the symptoms you experience when you have a migraine, to try to help other people understand what you're experiencing.
And it's experiential. It's cool. It's a nice website. You can there's a lot of different breathing and relaxation, but the simulator is cool.
And then we have another question too. Whoops, sorry. I just lost it. What was, oh yes. What was the medicine reminder? Did you say that mango helps for
I think it's
the medicine?
Mango Health. Mango, oh, here, I'll put my good microphone in. Is anyone else familiar with it? Mango Health. I think it rewards you
To take your medicine, you know, with those fake rewards that you get on online things.
Awesome. Melanie says thank you. And does anybody else have any other questions or comments at all? Or even, again, things that you've tried that you feel have been helpful?
You've all been great. You really have. Thank you for
I
participating. Look for Miles for Mike. There's actually, Kelly, do you want to tell what's coming up in the series from Miles for Migraine?
Yeah, so we have 3 more virtual events planned over the next, up until May 12th is the last event. The next ones will be on the one on May 12th is about treatment, especially in teens, because there's a lot of differences between, you all know this already, between adults and teens and what you can have. So there'll be an update on that one. There's one from a pain psychologist who will be on the call about like pain management and coping mechanisms. And then there's one other one as well that I'm blanking on the top. Oh, etiology and like pathophysiology of migraine and how it works and what you can do to help get rid of symptoms. So all related, but all different. And the cool thing is everybody who's presenting is different from all over the country. So like we had Dr. Laura from Atlanta and Dr. Lisa from Philadelphia. We'll have other doctors and other psychologists and different types of specialists from all over, from San Francisco and Colorado. And I think we have one from Delaware joining. So it's just really interesting and really fun for people to be able to collaborate and work together and learn about migraine. One other thing is, so I'm the director of youth programs for Miles for Migraine, and a new idea we came up with was to have some sort of support groups for teens. So within the next month or so, I'll be working on coordinating those, and I'll definitely invite all of you, the teens in the room anyway, not the parents, just the teens. So that way we can get those going, and I think a lot of people would benefit from them, just to make friends and to talk about their experiences.
Right.
So yeah,
And then Miles,
thank you so much.
The Miles for Migraine started with races, and they have races in more than 15 cities, assuming that we can all go outside together again sometime soon. And if not, they'll be doing virtual events. But it's pretty remarkable to know there's so many people out there supporting all of us. You were great.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And yes, you have been great and awesome participation. So, and thank you again, Dr. Laura and Dr. Lisa, for having this event, because it was so insightful and so helpful. So I hope you all have enjoyed. I will be sharing the slides with everybody who's been on the call. So look forward to that email. And if you have any questions, any comments, or any feedback on this session, I'd definitely be willing to hear what you have to say. So please reach out if you would like to.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks
Thank
especially
you all
for participating from all over the country. That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool. Kelly, I'll make a couple changes to the slides to add some of the things the kids suggested.
Okay, great. I'll send out the slides maybe by tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
Great.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You gonna stay, Hale?
I just want to say hi.